Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Yeah, a good narrative Shabbos. I was listening to the radio this morning, and I just felt like I could not hold back to talk about what I heard on the radio this morning. God willing, this week there's going to be a march in Montgomery, Alabama. And it's going to trace what the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, his marches there. We commemorate a lot of that. And it's going to culminate, this march, it's going to culminate with a rally in the church there in Montgomery. It's being organized by Glenn Beck and a few other fine people. And the message that Mr. Beck and the other organizers of this event are trying to bring out is one that should really hit home to us as Jews. As much as we've been persecuted in our history, the fact of the matter is we still owe a great debt of gratitude to those who did stand up and risk their lives to save us, save Jews, save other people during the dark days of the Holocaust and other times in history. And a rallying cry you always heard was never forget and never again. And Mr. Beck is suggesting that never again is now. What's going on in the Middle East it almost overshadows the level of cruelty and evil. We don't even hear about it, just like we didn't hear about it then. The cruelty and evil of the Nazis, what's going on now with ISIS, and how the story came out that an American girl who came on a humanitarian mission could be enslaved and killed in such a brutal way. It's plain that never again is now. And on the radio today, Glenn Beck, he brought up Schindler, others, and who's going to be the Schindler today? I want to talk about someone else in Jewish history. There was a rabbi called Weissmantel. Robert Weissmantel. He was the Rosh Yeshiva of Nitra, the city in Slovakia. And the Nitra Rosh Yeshiva made it his mission to save the Jews during the Holocaust. The level of work that he did, I don't have time now, just before Shabbos, to go through what a hero he was and the grand ideas that he had, and how so much of it was within reach. Rabbi Weissmantel discovers how through bribery Jewish lives could be saved. He found out, he managed to make connections with different people and even within the Nazi regime to try to figure out how to save Jews, what kind of briberies would be needed to put an end to genocide. And by that point there was about 1 million Jews left that hadn't been slaughtered, and an agreement was reached that for $2 million those 1 million Jews would be saved. $2 a person. Seems like a simple task. Rabbi Weissmantel called leaders in the mainstream American Jewish communities, American Jewish Committee, different secular Jewish organizations. And they said, no, no, we're not going to do this. We don't believe in bribery. We don't believe it. We don't have the money. They found that they had hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars in their coffers. $2 million to save 1 million people would not have been so difficult for them. Maybe they had other plans or other agenda. Maybe there's claims that maybe it was part of they wanted it to happen. Who knows? I don't know. But fact is, what's going on now. I know I don't have the resources myself. That I have this little phone here. I have this pulpit here. Maybe it'll wake somebody up. Maybe we could realize how in Aleppo, a city in Syria, which also happens to have a rich Jewish culture, also has one time and still has one of the highest percentages of Christians in the Middle East. And yet, the number of Christians in Syria, which only a few years ago was 2 million people, is now something around 400,000. And they didn't come here to America. They didn't go anywhere else. They're just gone. The fact was, there were many Christians who helped to save Jews during the Holocaust. And the Christians in Syria and in other parts of the world, and not only Christians, we know the Yazidi people, and we know even many Muslims who don't agree with ISIS are being slaughtered in a horrible, ruthless, cruel way. And we have to do something about it. At least we have to wake ourselves up. We can't keep a blind eye to this. You know, our children are going to ask us, what did we do when they read about this in history books 20 years from now? What did we do? And while I don't know what to do, we have to do something, and maybe someone who's watching this video will think of something. And I know Glenn Beck has an organization that's trying to work on this, and I think it's something that's worthwhile. And it's not a political issue. You don't have to agree with the politics to agree that it's worthwhile to save lives. You know, in our Parsha this week, we have that if you find someone who was murdered and you don't know who did it, to go to a valley and take a calf, a young cow, and break its neck, and then the elders of the city wash their hands and say that our hands have not shed this blood, neither have our eyes seen it. Forgive, O Lord, thy people Israel, whom thou hast redeemed, and suffer not innocent blood to remain in the midst of thy people Israel, and so the blood shall be forgiven for them. Now, why is it that with the town elders, the rabbis, why was it their job? They didn't kill these people. So our sages say, but did they see them off when they went on their way, when they left the city? Make sure they had food to eat, and make sure they had protection, and they make sure they were safe. That was a case where we don't know what's going on. Here we do know. Here we do know. And Maimonides suggested that perhaps that the whole reason for this whole very elaborate ceremony for such a horrible event was just to publicize it and hopefully find the culprit. And I think in that sense we're also kind of in the dark. we don't even realize what's going on in this world now in the 21st century, that literally a Holocaust is taking place, and they'd love to do the same thing to us too. Don't think, we're not exempt either. We have to do something to publicize this, just like that calf. We have to do something. And that way, by bringing attention to the horrors that are going on, hopefully something will be done by it. Because if we don't take responsibility, then it's really, we have responsibility. So again, I don't know what to do, but we have to do something, and hopefully, we're coming to the end of the year, the Shemitah year, sabbatical year, and it was predicted that there would be all kinds of tribulations and terrors just before world peace comes in Mashiach. And we hope it's soon. And our sages say that the year after the sabbatical is when the Messiah, son of David, is scheduled to come. The fact is, we don't need to wait until then. Hayom and B'kol Tishmal will be today if we listen to God's voice. Let's hope that there should be no more bloodshed, no more murder, no more terror. And we should see what it says in our Haftarah, Anochi, Anochi, Hu Menachemchem. Even I am he that comforteth you. That we should see the ultimate comforting, which Sadia Gon says will be with the resurrection of the dead, which comes after the coming of the Messiah, when we'll all be comforted, and we should see this soon in our days. Amen.